This is how Arsenal reached their first Champions League final in 20 years. Before we talk about tonight, you need to understand what Arsenal were walking into. 8 days ago, the Metropolitano, Madrid, one of the loudest, most hostile stadiums on the planet. Arsenal went there away from home and scored first. Brilliant goal. Controlled performance. And for about 10 minutes, it looked like the tie was done. Then Julian Alvarez equalized. 1-1. And suddenly, everything was back on the line. So here we are, Emirates Stadium, packed to the rafters. 60,000 people, who haven't seen this club in a Champions League final since 2006. And across the touchline, Diego Simeone. Now, if you don't know Simeone's style, let me explain it simply. Imagine you're trying to break down a door. You've got the key, you've got the strength, you've got the technique. But Atletico? They don't just lock the door. They weld it shut, board up the windows, put 5 men behind it, and dare you to find a way in. That's the low block. That's Simeone football. And tonight, they executed it to near perfection. 2 compact banks of 4. Griezmann and Alvarez pressing from the front. Oblak, one of the best goalkeepers alive, commanding the box. Arsenal had the ball, 54% possession, moving it side to side, looking for gaps. But here's the thing about Atletico's block. The gaps don't exist. They're an illusion. Every time Arsenal thought they'd found a way through, a body appeared. A leg came in. The ball was gone. 20 minutes. No real chances. 30 minutes. Still nothing. The Emirates was getting nervous. You could feel it. And then Saka picked up the ball on the right wing and everything changed. Here's what most people missed while watching this game. The real battle wasn't between Arsenal's attack and Atletico's defense. It was in the middle of the park. Declan Rice versus Koke. Now Koke is a legend. I mean that with full respect. Club captain of Atletico Madrid, 400 plus appearances. A player who has defined an era. But tonight, he was chasing shadows. Rice was everywhere. Intercepting, pressing, driving forward, shielding the back 4. Every time Atletico tried to build through midfield, Rice was there. Like a wall inside a wall. And while Rice was dominating in the center, Saka was doing something special on the right. Mark Pubel, Atletico's right back, is a solid defender. Decent. Reliable. Good. Bukayo Saka is not decent. He is not good. He is exceptional. And on nights like this, you see the difference between good and exceptional. Every run, every turn, every time Saka got the ball, Pubel was already a step behind. The danger was coming. The question was just when. And here's where it gets dramatic. Atletico's plan was working. Just about. But there was a problem Simeone couldn't solve from the touchline. His team had no attacking output. 5 shots all game. 5. For a team with Griezmann, Lookman, and Julian Alvarez, that is a damning number. Because when you sit that deep, when you sacrifice everything for defensive security, you better make your counterattacks count. Atletico weren't counting. Lookman was isolated. Griezmann, and I'll come back to this, was invisible. Alvarez was fighting alone against Saliba and Gabriel. Simeone was winning the tactical battle, but he was losing the momentum war. The Emirates could sense it. 40 minutes gone. 41, 42, 43. Atletico were 45 minutes away from the Champions League final. And then, remember that number. Because Arsenal scored on minute 44 inches the first leg. And now, with the clock ticking towards halftime, they did it again. Same minute, different city, same result. The Emirates erupted. But here's what I want you to think about, not the goal itself. Think about what happens next. The referee blows for halftime almost immediately, which means Atletico Madrid have to walk off this pitch, go into that dressing room, sit down, look at each other, and spend 15 minutes living with that goal, replaying it, feeling it, absorbing the fact that everything they'd done for 43 minutes, the discipline, the shape, the suffering, had been erased. In one moment. That is psychological damage that tactics can't fix. And Simeone knew it. There's a reason the best managers in the world talk about the danger zones the minutes just before halftime and just after. Your concentration dips. Your body starts switching off. Arteta knew exactly where to attack. He didn't just score a goal on minute 44 twice in this tie. He weaponized that minute. That is elite-level management. Simeone came out at halftime with one message: go. And he meant it. Minute 57, 3 substitutions. AT once. Now, 3 substitutions at once, in the 57th minute of a Champions League semi-final second leg, that is not a tactical tweak. That is a panic button. That is a manager saying, what we're doing is not working. Change. Everything. And for a brief moment it worked. Atletico pushed higher. There was more urgency, more tempo. But here's where Arsenal showed something that this club has been building towards for 3 years. They didn't panic. They didn't sit deep and hope. They didn't collapse under the pressure. They managed the game, professionally, intelligently, maturely. Saliba, composed. Rice, dominant. Raya making the saves when it mattered. And Saka, still running, still pressing, still alive. Atletico pushed and pushed. But the door? The door that Simeone is famous for slamming shut? Tonight Arsenal had locked it from the other side. And then the final 10 minutes happened. 4 yellow cards. In 10 minutes. Bodies everywhere. The referee losing control. Players screaming at each other. Simeone raging on the touchline. It was beautiful chaos. The kind of football that reminds you why you fell in love with this sport. Raw. Urgent. Desperate. But Arsenal held. And when that final whistle blew, 20 years. That's how long Arsenal fans have been waiting for this. 20 years of near misses, of rebuilds, of hope and heartbreak. And tonight at the Emirates, it was finally over. Arsenal are in the Champions League final. Okay, let me break down exactly why Arsenal won this tie tactically. No jargon, just straight talk. Atletico tried to build a wall. And normally that wall works. Ask Liverpool, ask Barcelona. They've all come up against it and failed. The wall works because most teams get impatient. They rush, they force it, they play into Atletico's hands. Arteta didn't do that. He was patient. He circulated the ball. He used Gyökeres as a battering ram, not to score, but to occupe defenders, to drag them out of position. Think of it like this. Gyökeres is the distraction. Every time he made a run, 2 defenders followed him, which meant somewhere else on the pitch there was space. And Arsenal found that space. The second thing Arteta did brilliantly? He controlled the tempo. Atletico need chaos to counterattack. They need the game to be stretched. They need the opposition to be disorganized. Arsenal gave them nothing. Neat, compact, controlled, and deadly when the moment came. And that moment, minute 44, was not an accident. It was a plan. All right. Real talk. No sugarcoating. Griezmann was poor. I know. He's a legend. I know. He's a former Ballon d'Or winner. I know. But tonight, he was invisible. 2 shots off target. 0 creativity. 0 impact. The Griezmann that made Atletico magical for years, the one who floated between the lines, found pockets, created magic from nothing, wasn't here tonight. He looked tired. He looked heavy-legged. He looked like a player who is no longer the weapon he once was at this level. And that, more than anything, is why Atletico couldn't break Arsenal down. Because without a creative genius between the lines, Simeone's system has no key. It's a locked room with no way out. Now Arteta. Starting Eze was bold, and it half worked. Eze had bright moments but couldn't sustain it. He was off by the 58th minute. But, and this is important, Arteta knew when to change it. He didn't stubbornly stick to a plan that wasn't working. He adapted immediately. That's the difference between a good manager and a great one. And Gyökeres. Listen, this man played 2 semi-final legs against one of the best defensive setups in European football. He was double-marked, fouled, shoved, and tracked relentlessly. And he was still the most dangerous striker on the pitch. Whoever Arsenal face in that final, they better have a plan for Gyökeres. Because right now, there isn't one that works. So here's what this match really told us. It told us that Arteta has built something that goes beyond tactics. He's built a mentality. 2 years ago, this Arsenal team loses this game. They freeze under the pressure. They become passive. They go out on away goals or penalties with their heads down. But this team? They scored on minute 44. Twice. In both legs. In a tie that was perfectly balanced. They didn't panic when Atletico pushed in the second half. They didn't collapse when 4 yellow cards flew in the final minutes. They held. They won. They advanced. And now they're in the Champions League final. 20 years in the making. So here's my question to you, and I genuinely want to know. Can Arsenal win the Champions League final? Drop your answer in the comments. Serious debate only. And if you want the full tactical breakdown of who they could face in that final and exactly how Arteta should set up, subscribe. Because that video is going to be something special.